up guys, Roshni Sanghvi here, taking over Shivam's channel today and inspire you hopefully to get fitter. Shivam, first of all, thank you so much for letting me take over your channel, and kudos to you, man. You're doing such a good job waking up every single day with just the intention of inspiring others to get fit just like you have done yourself. I think it's a big task and I really hats off to that. Shivam's transformation, of course, you've seen on his channel, you've seen him talk about it today. He wanted me to come and talk about my transformation, my journey in the fitness industry and how long I've been, and maybe try and inspire you guys, give you guys some tips, tricks, things I use to help me get fitter, and let's get started with that. I got into the fitness industry, I want to say about 5-ish years back. My parents owned a couple of fitness centers, and at that time I was living and working in New York, and I got a call one day from my parents, from my mom, and she said that your dad is really sick and you need to come back to town. And I was shocked, obviously, and I got a panic attack. It was really scary because as a child you're dependent on your parents. I want to say about like 22, 23-ish. So what I did was I packed my bags and I called my mom back and I said, how many days am I coming back for? And the first thing she responded was, I don't think you'll ever go back because he might not make it. And that scared me. That was, I remember sitting in my room and crying for I think 2-3 hours non-stop. I did not have the energy to get up. I did not have the energy, I was just too scared to ask her what happened. I knew he was in the hospital and he had some pain in his stomach, but we weren't able to figure out what it was. The doctors told him he was obese. At the time he was 120 kgs, and the doctors had told him that the pain was due to maybe some kind of tumor, but they were not sure because of the obesity. Long story short, I flew back to India and I started looking over the fitness centers, which was Dad's main business, and he wasn't there. He was in the hospital. But turns out it wasn't a tumor, it was just gallbladder stones, and because he was just so obese, they weren't able to figure out the exact problem. He made a full recovery. He came back home, but that really triggered me. It really triggered me that as a parent, it's your moral responsibility to stay fit because your kids look up to you and you don't have a choice. It's not, your body, your rules. Once you have kids, you can't do that, or once you have a family, you can't do that, because the people who suffer the most when you are sick is your family. I mean, my dad was in the hospital. He was unconscious most of the time. He didn't even know what's going on, but I had to leave my career and come back. I had to give up everything I'd created in New York. 5 years of building, doing my bachelor's, master's, and finally building my career. I had to stop that. I was a clinical psychologist and I had to quit that and come back to India. So I took it up to myself to train my dad, because we already had the fitness centers, but I did not trust the trainers to train my dad, and I had zero knowledge at all. I hadn't entered a gym before. I wasn't very physically active myself. I was obese myself, and here's my picture. But what I started doing was I started educating myself, and I thought the best way to educate myself was to get certifications and certify myself. So I certified myself. I got a couple of international certification. I went and got a certification from Dwayne Johnson's trainer Jim Stupani in the UK. So I touch wood. I mean, I've been blessed to be trained under some of the best people. I've been also trained under Jillian Michaels from the US, who's also a celebrity trainer. And I came back and I started working on my dad's fitness and dad's health. And we transformed him. Within a period of, I think, I want to say 6 months, he lost close to 20 kgs. At the same time, I started working on my own transformation and I lost a lot of weight too. I lost about 15 kgs, and I did all of that on a plant-based diet, a vegan diet. I was not born vegan. I was born vegetarian, but I was introduced to the concept of veganism when I was in the US. I did have no intention to convert into plant-based eater or vegan because I love my cheese so much. Now let me just tell you the difference between vegan and vegetarian. Vegetarian diet is a diet where you don't eat meat, but you eat dairy and you might eat eggs. Lacto-vegetarian, or you could be vegetarian. You might or might not eat eggs. But a vegan diet is where you don't take any products which comes from animals. So that's milk, meat, eggs, honey, anything you can think of which comes from animals, you don't eat on a vegan diet. And the reasons could be many. The reasons I adopted a vegan diet is because of health reasons, purely health reasons. And I know the first thought coming into your head is, how can a diet without milk be healthy? Because milk is calcium and milk is protein, right? But there's a lot of myths behind milk and how good milk is for your body. If anything, your body does not have the enzyme to break down lactose, which is in milk. And when you go on a plant-based diet, 100% plant-based diet, your body has to do that much less work in terms of digesting processed food which you're eating, which is cheese, milk, paneer and all of that, and actually can focus on recovery. So if you look at a lot of top athletes like, the Williams sisters, there's a lot of boxers, Nate Diaz, who's an MMA champion. There's so many athletes which switched to a vegan diet. Recently, Virat Kohli is a big name. He switched to a vegan diet. So a lot of athletes switch to a vegan diet because your recovery is much faster on a vegan diet, and on a plant-based diet you're actually absorbing everything you're eating much better, because animal protein like milk is hard to digest. It's really hard to digest. Casein, whey, all of these comes out of milk. But plant-based protein, anything you're getting from lentils, beans, pulses, is much easier to digest. So I adopted a vegan diet for myself, and that's where majority of my transformation took place. Because I mean, think about it. When you go on a plant-based diet, initially the first 1 month is hard because you don't know what to replace with. What you want to, how you going to have a pizza and ice creams and things like that. But as and when you keep progressing on a plant-based diet, it's really not that hard. You're going to find plant-based alternatives to everything. There's vegan cheese, there's vegan ice creams, there's vegan cream, there's vegan butters, and sometimes these are much healthier than the plant-based alternatives. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just oil, a lot of oil. So of course you have to be careful. But it's much easier on a plant-based diet and losing weight. So there might be people who might be questioning, well, I'm eating 1500 or 1800 calories and I don't see any results. One of the reasons you're not seeing results is you're not counting macros. You're probably not counting macros. It's really important to do so. When I started, and this will vary, okay, this will vary person to person. When I started, my macros were 60% carbohydrates, 20% fat and 20% protein. And it went 15% up and down as and when I saw results on my body and how I wanted my body to sculpt. But it did not move anywhere more than 15% up and down. So I was on a high carb diet, and I believe a high carb diet, if you live in India and if you're used to Indian food, a high carb diet is the easiest to follow. And there's a lot of high carb plant-based diet. A whole food plant-based diet is the only diet in the entire world which not only promises to prevent but reverse lifestyle diseases like diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, PCOD. I work with clients on a regular basis with diabetes, thyroid and PCOD, especially with type 2 diabetes. Within 6 to 8 weeks you start seeing the dosage of medication come down, or if they're taking insulin, then that starts coming down. So plant-based diet, high carb plant-based diet, carbs are not your enemy, and this is what I learned. Now processed carbs is one thing. Of course, if you're eating like cakes and breads and carbs which are made, like the grain is made into powder, in the case of bread, wheat or maida, it's made into powder, and you're eating that, now that's your enemy. But if you're eating whole food carbs like rice and quinoa and bulgur and anything where the whole grain is intact, amaranth seeds, that's not your enemy. That's not going to make you fat. Same goes with lentils and pulses. They're all carbs. Like if you're having dal and like chana and rajma, all of these pulses and moong, that's not your enemy. That's not what's making you fat. What's making you fat is inactivity and overeating. There's a limit to where your stomach, and if you're on a plant-based diet, your stomach will send you signals. There's so much of fiber you're consuming in your diet, you're going to get fuller faster. So unless you're eating like in front of the TV all the time, or you're talking and eating, or there's too much of distractions, then you're not able to listen to your body signals. But if you spend time with your food and you're just eating like fruits, vegetables, lentils, pulses and whole grains, your stomach at a point will send you signals to stop eating, and at that point stop eating, and then you don't have to do calorie counting. So calorie counting is not important. I did it because I was competing and I had a deadline. I had like I think a 12-week transformation is what I planned for myself, and I had a deadline. 12 weeks I had to reach a certain body fat percentage. To give you the exact details, I started off at 32% body fat and I came down to 15% body fat, 14% when I was on stage. And because I was on a high carb diet, I looked very energetic. I did not lose my energy when I was on stage. Most women, when they compete, they miss their periods. I did not miss my periods. I was very happy with the way I was on stage. So carbs, don't create this. And this is with diet. If someone tells you a diet has an expiration date, then it's a bad diet. If someone tells you that you should eat only, let's say, fruits for lunch, and you need to do this, and you're going to question them, but I can't survive on only fruits for lunch, and they'll be like, yeah, but you only do it for 6 weeks till you lose weight, and then you can eat whatever. No, you can't. If you want to see permanent results, you have to make permanent changes, and permanent changes only come through lifestyle changes. So make changes in your meal plan or in your diet plan in terms of what suits you. Now for me, because I was raised in a vegetarian household, roti sabzi dal chawal is what we eat every day. So I made a way around that, and I made sure that fit into my macros, and I was eating high carb roti sabzi dal chawal, and I still lost weight, and I still do that. I mean, if you guys follow me on Instagram, which I think the link will be in the bio, you should see the kind of food, and I do a lot of what I eat in a day on my Instagram stories, and you should see the kind of food I eat, and I'm fine, I'm healthy, and I stay lean, and I don't over exercise. Coming to exercise, what did I do to lose weight? I did a lot of weight training. Cardio, of course, when I was competing. So when I had to go from 20% body fat to 15, the last 5% when I had to drop, I did add in cardio up to 45 minutes a day. But apart from that, there was no cardio when I was losing weight. When I was losing weight, it was a lot of very well structured, scientifically designed weight training program. Very well planned. Some things were inspired from Jim Stopani's Shortcut to Shred program, and some of them were my own education and my own experiments with myself, and that worked absolutely fine for me. Another thing about a plant-based diet, and I've uploaded this on my Instagram stories and my pictures. When I'm lifting weight, I lift really heavy weights, like really heavy weights. I would deadlift about 100 to 110 kgs, that heavy weights. And on a plant-based diet, your recovery is so much faster. So most people I work out with, if they're eating a lot of meat in their diet, their recovery is much slower. So they would come back on the floor the next day much more sore. But I would lift pretty much the same weights as a lot of guys, and I would be fine. So of course, like I'm like bench pressing, I don't lift the same weights, but many exercises, and I'm absolutely fine. And that's the thing with plant-based diet, your recovery is much faster, and you come back on the floor much stronger. With fat loss, is easy. The more time you're able to spend on the floor, and the more you're able to follow your nutrition plan, as in not include meat, dairy for me it was, and no oils. The more and then you eat whatever you want within that range, you'll see faster results, and you can only spend more time on the floor if your recovery is good. If your recovery is not good, you won't be able to go back. Like my rest days mostly are like my 1 hour cardio days. If I have a rest day, I would go running, or I would play a sport or something. That's my rest day, that's my average rest, and I don't feel the need to take one entire day off and not do anything. No, I don't feel the need to take that. My mantra of fitness, if I had to talk about my mantra of fitness, do something. Fitness should be, you should love it. If you don't love it, don't do it. If you don't like the gym, don't do it. If you like Zumba, do it. If you don't like Zumba, try swimming. If you don't like swimming, try playing cricket. If you don't like playing cricket, try yoga. If you don't like yoga, there's aerial yoga, there's acro yoga, there's so many forms in yoga itself. If you don't like any of that and you really just want to dance it off in your room, then dance it off in your room. Or run behind your puppy. Do something which you genuinely like. Otherwise, it's not going to be a lifestyle change. If it's not a lifestyle change, it's not going to stick with you. I love weight training. That's my stress-free hour. That's like I take all this work pressure and everything in my head, go onto the floor, listen to some really loud music, and just vent it out over there. And I genuinely love doing that. I'm not forced. There are of course days when I have to really push myself to get on the floor because I'm tired, but most days I'm not forced to do something. So find an activity which you genuinely love, and that's my mantra. I mean, find an activity which you love. Don't get on a wagon which you have no business getting on and then blame yourself for falling off the wagon. You didn't like weight training, then why are you trying to force yourself to do that? Just because so and so person lost weight because of weight training, not necessarily you will too. But experiment long enough. Like if you're going to go, let's say you think your passion is boxing, and you go for boxing on day one and you suck because everyone is experienced in advance and you're like a beginner and you're trying your best but you're really bad at it. You're not going to like it. No one likes it, but you'll have to stick with it about 6 weeks. And after 6 weeks, then decide, is it your passion? If not, then you shift to something else. But don't give up too soon. Stick with it for 6 weeks. If you still don't like it, find your passion in something else, or keep switching. Like for me, if I would get bored with weight training or running, I would go to like a few classes of martial arts, or my recent favorite is aerial yoga, or just find some new activity, or like trekking or something. But keep switching if you have to, but make sure that out of, if you work out for 6 out of 7 days in a week, if you do, I'm not saying you should, if you have to push yourself anything more than 2 days, then that activity is not for you. I mean, there will be 2 days in a week when you really don't want to go and you just want to take it back. I mean, take a step back and relax. But if you have to push yourself more than 2 days in a week, then it's not for you. Then find something else. Or find a really good workout partner. That worked for me, amazing. Who's going to push you constantly, and there's sort of a competition between you and her or him, where you're trying to, keep up. So find someone to motivate you, or find something you really like to do. One major tip to lose weight: consistency. Consistency is the only thing. You would rather do something very small, like 10 minutes of workout, but do it consistently for 1 year, versus doing like a 60-minute workout once in a week. You won't see results. You can't. Do something, but do it every single day. And that's also with exercise plan. People who think they are on a plateau, it'll take years before your body plateaus. So if you see like any professional fitness athlete or any professional bodybuilder, they would stick to only basic movements: push, pull, lunge, squat, rotation. There's no other movement possible. There's nothing else possible. Push, pull, lunge, squat, rotation. So you have a bench press, you have a pull-up, you have like push-ups and squats and deadlifts. Those are your basic movements, and if you're only sticking to those movements but do it every single day, that's going to give you results. Don't switch too much. It's a workout plan. It's not an entertainment program. Don't switch too much thinking your body is getting into a plateau. No. Your body is not getting into a plateau. Just try basic movements and stick to it. Have I tried any fad diets like keto and Atkins or any of those? No, never. I'm strongly against it. I'm strongly against anything where your diet has a deadline. Your diet should not have a deadline. It should become your lifestyle change, or it should not be that. If you're making lifestyle changes like small things, like for me, lifestyle change would be, let's say something dropping dairy. I've done it and it's going to be for the rest of my life. But I'm a huge dairy addict. I was, and if you look up studies, then cheese is as addictive as cocaine. Cheese has certain enzymes and chemicals which is as addictive as cocaine or drugs are. I found alternatives when I switched. I didn't switch. I'm like, I don't not enjoy life. I still eat pizzas. I still eat ice creams. I still eat chocolates. But there are dairy-free versions, and I've found them. So now, even if someone tells me to go back to eating dairy, I don't like the taste. I don't want to, but I found alternatives, and then I made a switch slowly, and that's my one major tip. If you want to lose weight like this, go on a plant-based diet, go on a vegan diet, look it up, get guidance. You can be under eating if you're on a vegan diet, because there's not, I don't want to say, there's like many more food options, but it'll take you some time to figure out things. So get guidance and go on a plant-based diet. Or check out my Instagram. I upload a lot of vegan food over there, and you're gonna get like mouth watery excited just looking at it. And yeah, that's my secret. The last thing before I wrap up: supplements. Should you take them? Should you not take them? Which one should you take? You need supplements. Supplement, as the name suggests, is a supplement for nutritional deficiency in your food. It's not your main food. It's a supplement. If you're not getting enough nutrition through your food, then you need supplements. But mostly, if you're eating enough fruits and vegetables, there's no way you need, except for B12 and D3. Vitamin B12 and D3, you don't need any other supplements. Protein powders, if you're genuinely looking to build muscle mass to compete or for aesthetic goals. If you don't have aesthetic goals and you want to lose weight, protein powders is just extra calories. You don't need it. You should not be eating it. It's too processed. But if you want to gain muscle mass, it's a different story. I've done a post on my Instagram recently about how much proteins you need, how much proteins you should be eating. Go and check it out, which is a good way to close this. Make sure you check out my Instagram, follow me on my Instagram, or visit my website. The details of my website are right here, roshnisanghvi.com. And I hope this video was helpful to some of you and I managed to motivate you all. Leave a comment below, and thank you so much for having me here. That's it.